The Bible does not try to prove the existence of God. This is really important for us to keep in mind. The Bible presupposes the existence of God. Genesis 1 doesn't start with an argument to try to convince you that God exists. It says, in the beginning, God. Because there is no truth that is more foundational than God. You know what I'm saying? There is nothing that's more basic. There's nothing that is more foundational. So what we do is we lay that out as a premise. Either God exists or He doesn't. The Bible doesn't try to prove the existence of God. The Bible just states it. It says God is. You might be in question. God is not in question. God exists. But now let's look at, okay, this is a truth claim. God exists. Let's look at the evidence. Let's see if this makes sense in the real world. Does this make sense as we see the world around us? Does the existence of God correspond with what we know about truth, what we know about reality? Is the belief in God self-referentially contradictory? I don't have time to get into it here, but the belief in God is not self-referentially contradictory. There's nothing within the God thesis that poses a problem within itself. One more thing I'll say on this. I'm going to wrap up here real quickly. But I will admit this to an atheist. I will say to the atheist, they'll say, you can't prove the existence of God. And I'll say, you know what, you're right. I can't prove the existence of God. And you can't disprove the existence of God. Because in order for you to disprove the existence of God, you would have to know everything omnisciently. You would have to have been everywhere in the universe that you could possibly be. You would have had to look under every rock and every tree. You would have to have all knowledge, infinite knowledge, to rule out the possibility that there's a God somewhere. Isn't that true? And they would say, okay, well, yeah, technically that's true. I can't say with 100% absolute certainty that there is no God. I say, okay, so you're not an atheist. And I move them from the category of atheist to the category of agnostic. An agnostic is someone who says, I don't know if God exists. I don't think He does, but I'm really not 100% sure. Even if they say I'm 99.99% sure. I say, okay, but you're still not 100% sure, are you? So you're a very strong agnostic. And most of the time, if you reason with them a little bit, they'll accept that. And then I'll say, okay, so you can't know that God doesn't exist. I can't prove that He does. You can't prove that He doesn't. You're an agnostic. All that means is you don't know. Would you like to know? You're just saying you don't know. Would you like to know? Because I can help you. There is a method. There is a way that we can go about analyzing this, asking the right questions, so you can find out for sure if there's a God. Rule it out. You know what I'm saying? Let's find out for sure. Either rule it in or rule it out, but get off the fence on the issue. Right now you're an agnostic. You're really not sure. You're on the fence. You know, let's get on one side or the other of this. And so then we say, let's look at the evidence. Make your decision based on the fact that the evidence doesn't support the existence of God, not on the basis that you don't like God. And if the issue is that you don't like God, and again, and I'll get into this tonight, that is the issue with every single unbeliever. Every single unbeliever has that as the root problem. They despise the thought that they have to submit their life to the authority of God and His Word. You and I know that. And so when we answer these intellectual questions, we need to answer them with respect. We need to answer them as best as we can. But let's not play into the misguided view that they're struggling with an intellectual rejection of God. You know, we answer the intellectual questions. We try to, I call it, move the rubble out of the road, get the boulders and trees off the road so that there's a clear path. But if they're ultimately rejecting God, it has to do with rebellion in their heart, not with an intellectual question.